public hanging for a crime they almost certainly didn't commit. Do you mind if we...
Go ahead. Tear my thesis to pieces.
A woman is murdered. 4 boatmen are arrested. Only 3 are charged. Why?
In the absence of witnesses, they need the boys' evidence to convict the others.
Yes. Here's a trial that was just a foregone conclusion. A prosecution case riddled with contradictions. A defense counsel who only went through the motions. An Oxford jury prejudiced against boatmen. No proof at all of how the crime was committed. And I think something else was wrong. Why drop the charges of theft and rape?
Because they were minor charges compared to the murder charge.
Because it would have given the defense a chance to look into Joanna Franks' sexual behavior.
You know what I think? I think you're just working on your instinct. Maybe your sexual instinct.
What?
Sorry, Morse. If you're going to convince me, you're going to have to really convince me.
Very well. 4 men are arrested, 3 are sentenced, only 2 are hanged. Why was Walter Towns reprieved?
That was very dramatic. He'd gotten very religious in prison. He learned how to read the Bible, got baptized. Then, when they were being led out for execution...
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, the rod of thy staff comforts me. Thou shalt prepare a table before me against them that trouble me.
Chaplain, did you administer the last rite?
Yes, Governor. There were no confessions. They all protest their innocence. Mr. Towns commended his soul to the law.
Bring Mr. Towns to me. Walter Towns, in consideration of your recent religious behavior and reformation of a sinful way of life, the State Secretary, on my own advice, has seen fit to grant you a reprieve.
Reprieve, sir?
Your sentence is commuted to transportation for life.
What about the others, sir?
They must suffer the fate that is their due.
We're all innocent, sir.
You know we were wrong, Walter.
You're going to tell me.
You might be innocent.
Nice wheels, sir.
It isn't wheels, Kershaw. It's a car. Come along.
Just meant I like the car. It's a terrific piece of retro.
Terrific piece of retro? What does that mean?
Well, postmodern nostalgia.
I suppose you think my interest in this case is another piece of postmodern nostalgia.
No, sir. I'm enjoying it.
Really? What are they made of?
Calico, wouldn't you say? Homemade, probably, by a competent seamstress. Does that help?
So, the tear?
What tear? Not the faintest sign of an irregular distension of the fibre tissue. You mean this? Not a tear, a cut. A clean, straightforward, vertical cut.
You mean with a knife?
Yes, like this.
What for, do you think?
Well, you're more experienced in the wicked ways of the world than I am, but I'd say to secure access, gain entrance, get inside.
Rape.
Not sure. With rape, you'd expect a tear. Maybe somebody wanted it to look like rape. Don't know.
And the dress?
Cotton, domestically made. Hem's been lengthened. Bust, remodelled and extended. All restitched with needle and thread.
Sounds unusual.
Not in Victorian times. Dresses were usually handed on, weren't they? Especially in poor families. It's water-stained, of course. Tell me, Morse, are we making proper use of police time?
Yes, in my view, it's important. The shoes?
Just shoes. No shoe size, of course, but they didn't have them then, did they? Local cobbler, I should think. They could do with a repair, but I don't do those. Being very economical, Morse. You usually deliver me a body or 3.
Not this time. She drowned in the Oxford Canal in 1859. Only the medical evidence said her face was blackened and bruised. Isn't that more like suffocation?
Yes. Sounds as though they lacked a good forensic pathologist. Do you want to leave these with me and I'll do some tests?
Please, Dr. Hobson. And if you find anything, I'm still on sick leave, so if you could call me at home.
If you want a second opinion, why not get up on the table now?
No, thank you.
It always pays to return to the crime scene, Kershaw.
Never did like canals. Always seemed made for bodies.
In early Victorian times, they were the lifeblood of the nation, the motorways of the age.
Except they were too slow.
They weren't slow, they were measured. Things moved at a more natural speed. Half the traffic from the Midlands to London came through here. Cargo boats, coal boats, salt boats, fast fly boats with passengers and cargo. And 140 years ago, the Barbara Bray came through in the morning mist. And then another boatman found a body in the water. Where, do you reckon? Somewhere here. What happened?
He was suffocated on the boat and dropped into the water.
Well, wouldn't somebody have seen?
Fisherman Ward said he heard a splash in the mist. He couldn't see anything.
There was another witness on the bank. Who was he?
Donald Favant.
What?
According to the newspaper inquiries, the police thought he was called Donald Favant, a man who booked into the Bear at Woodstock. I read it in Jackson's Oxford Journal.
You could have said, Kershaw.
Maybe she was killed on the bank. The boys said she got off and walked. Maybe she never got back on again. Someone on the bank killed her.
But who?
If we put her on the bank, could have been anyone.
Shoes, Kershaw. They were found in her cabin, and the court said that proved she got back on board.
Yes, sir.
Think about the cut in those knickers.
Why, sir?
Well, it's the key to this case, isn't it? Who was Joanna Franks? What kind of woman was she? What were her relations with those men?
The court didn't go into that.
Exactly. Where's the barge inn?
Where?
The place they carried the body. I presume it's still there, and I presume it still serves beer. How about it, Kershaw? This case is all based on surmise and prejudice. Boatmen were drunks, thieves and rapists. Ergo, they must have done it.
Sounds like the spirit of Victorian Oxford, sir. Oxford was seriously evangelical, remember?
What?
That was a regular war of town and gown. Religious students versus the heathen boatmen of Upper Fisher Row. They fought all the time. After this trial, the university used the verdict to evangelize the boatmen. The law was changed to give them Sundays off. They even built a chapel for them on Hythe Street.
It's still there?
I think it's a double glazing establishment. It's right opposite the Oxford jail where they hang the men. Just by the Oxford Canal Basin, where the flyboat stopped. They only filled that in a few years ago.
Is that a double glazing establishment too?
More or less. It's called Nuffield College.
And how do you know all this?
I got my degree in Oxford before I became a tea-boy. First in history, Keble College. Would you like another, sir?
Yes. Yes, I think I will, Kershaw.
And that makes a difference, does it? He's an Oxford first. You always were a snob, Morse.
At least he no longer thinks I'm wasting my time.
You really are going to have to face it, you know.
What?
You have to retire in 2 years' time. Why are you putting up such a fight now?
This trunk belonged to Joanna Franks, the woman who was murdered.
And her initials were FTD?
She'd been married before. A musical magician, F.T. Donovan.
Pass me that paper knife.
Isn't that valuable historical evidence?
No, I think it's magic. The great Donovan, Emperor of all the illusionists, and his lovely assistant, Joanna. See a headless chicken mysteriously restored to life.
There's not much here, is there? No money.
Well, it could have been stolen. There was always a suspicion of theft. Well, maybe the police removed it.
But she must have had other things, too. The things women carry, you know, handkerchiefs, perfume bottles. Unless she had a handbag of some kind.
The carpet bag.
What?
It was never mentioned again. Where did it go?
All right? Yes, mister. Passenger, have you have room to take one? How far? All the way. London.
You brought my pants back.
I'm keeping them. Vital evidence in a murder case. They said you had something for me.
I went to the medical records library. Is this what you want?
Medical report on Mrs. Joanna Franks. Ray Victoria Regina versus J. Oldfield and others.
Woman is around 35 years, lean but quite well nourished. 5'3" and 1/4 inches in height. Preliminary findings suggest death by drowning, but face congested, discoloured and black. No other serious injury, except disfiguring bruise on mouth, right side. Body in full clothes, but without bonnet or shoes. Drawers torn, but no obvious evidence of sexual dealing.
It's these, Morse. Can you tell me any more about the woman who was wearing them? Didn't you say she was travelling by canal boat from Coventry? Long journey, wasn't it?
A night and a day to Oxford.
In that case, she'd have to get off now and then, wouldn't she? Calls of nature and all that.
She did. The boat boys said she walked along the bank quite a way.
Not in these shoes. They're light indoor shoes, not what you wear on a canal journey. And there's no evidence at all of outdoor wear. How tall was she?
According to the doctor's report, she was 5'3" and 1/4 inches.
Any idea of the average height of a woman in the mid-19th century?
Smaller than now. Lack of protein in the diet.
Bit smaller? Lot smaller?
Don't know.
Find you the height of Jack the Ripper's victims. That was what, 1880s? They were all measured.
What were they?
4'9", 4'11", that sort of height. Except one, see? The one they called Long Liz because she was so tall. And she was 5'3".
Well?
This dress. It was made bigger to fit a woman of at least that height. And look at the size of the shoes.
Yes, they're very small. Nobody mentioned it.
Face congested, discoloured and black. That's suffocation, Morse. So how was she identified?
My husband, 10 days later.
After further severe deterioration?
Yes. He had to identify her by a birthmark behind her ear.
Interesting woman, your Joanna Franks. She was tall, but she had small feet. She drowned, but she was suffocated.
She was raped, but there was no sign of sexual activity. She was robbed, but nothing was taken.
You're looking much better.
I feel it, Dr. Van Boren.
So, where are we going?
Summertime.
Sounds lovely. Why? So you found out something new?
I believe I have. It's here somewhere. Ah, yes. Here it is. To the memory of Joanna Franks, wife of Charles Franks.
Who, having been primitively assaulted, was most tragically drowned in Oxford Canal, June 22nd, 1859. So, she's buried somewhere around here.
Not exactly, miss.
I'm sorry.
Well, the memorial was moved, you see. This isn't the original Victorian graveyard.
Do you know where the original grave was, then? Doesn't the church have a record?
I doubt it. Is it important?
Suppose an exhumation was required.
Well, then you'd have a real job. You'd have to pull all them down. The church sold the main graveyard for building several years ago and moved the headstones over here.
Oh, dear.
I suppose it will all have to remain a surmise.
You know, you really lost me this time, Morse.
Just a minute. Kershaw, that undertaker's record, doesn't it say something about a Providence Society?
The Coventry Mutual Providence Society and Burial Club.
Of course. That's what this is about. She took out life insurance. Will you try and find out, Kershaw?
Sounds pretty difficult, sir.
Well, trace the records. You're an historian, aren't you?
Morse, just what has to remain a surmise?
Oh, that a tall woman who wasn't Joanna Franks was buried in her grave.
Hello, is that the Hong Kong Macau Bank? Yeah, this is Thames Valley Police. We're making criminal inquiries, and I want to trace a life insurance policy. It's with the Coventry Mutual Providence Society. Yeah, long before your takeover 3 years ago.
Thank you. Morris, you're not still trying to get me to tear up my book.
I'm just asking you to consider another possibility.
And that was why you wanted to dig up poor Joanna?
But was she really poor Joanna?
She was murdered, for goodness sake.
Are you sure of that? What is the linchpin of a criminal trial and conviction? Correct identification of the victim.
So?
Everyone in court assumed that the victim was Joanna Franks, but how was she identified?
By her husband, the ostler.
And no one else? No father, mother, brother, friend?
Well, she didn't have any. Not that were available anyway.
And none of the boatmen, not even Thomas.
Right, but there was Charles Franks.
Who came up from London over a week later. He looked at a corpse in an Oxford morgue. The face was black and disfigured. The body had deteriorated.
There was a birthmark that only a lover or a husband could know.
There was, wasn't there?
Joanna Franks died 22nd of June, 1859. Paid in £8.10. Beneficiary, Charles Franks. Policy paid in full, £300. February 1861.
Now, what now, Kershaw? Checking your peps and tessers?
No, sir.
This just can't go on much